All right, guys, so what is Shopify automation? How does it work? How does it benefit people? What's all the scam stuff out there? Let's go ahead, let's talk about it, because as you guys know, we do have a Shopify store, and we've had one for a very long time. So I think we're a little versed on this shit. All right, let's go.
What's up, guys? This is Roughneck Actual, and you have reached the Roughnecks Ecom channel. If you want to learn how to make money online or offline, then you need to be right here. I'm a 7-figure Amazon seller. I'm also an honorably discharged Air Force veteran. Graduated from Penn State and started a career as a software engineer and leveraged that to build my businesses. If you guys have any questions on how to make money, you're gonna find all your answers right here, so stay tuned.
All right, guys, yo, good to see you guys again, man. It feels like forever between these little videos. So let's go ahead, we're gonna break down Shopify automation and what it is. So first off, I think we need to talk about Shopify, right? Everyone thinks Shopify is this thing, this like store, and it's not. Shopify is just a platform for you to build an online store on. Okay, that's it, nothing more, okay? It's a platform for you to build out your own website, host your own products, run traffic to them, whatever, yada, yada, yada. So that's what Shopify is. It's not it's this particular store. It's not, it's just a platform, okay? And what is automation? What is the Shopify automation about? It's, building out stores and then managing them the same way that we would with, Amazon or Facebook or ClickFunnels or whatever. Because whatever people are doing these days, because it seems like everyone's doing some automation on some type of shit, but whatever. So automating Shopify is one of the more recent trends, okay? So you've probably seen it. There's a lot of people out in the space. There's a bunch of cap. They're talking about, oh yeah, bro, you're gonna do, $30 million and be the next Fashion Nova and all this. And that's more than likely not gonna be true. But what is true is that it's much faster scaling than Facebook or Amazon due to the fact that you get to run your specific traffic for whatever products that you have. And the thing is, most people are trying to build the Shopify dropshipping stores that they had back in like 2017 with a bunch of general products. It's just a variety store. That doesn't work now, all right? You gotta build an actual brand. So if you guys don't know what a brand looks like, check our site out, speedcircuit.net. You can take all the products, whatever you want, do whatever you wanna do. We really don't care because you're not gonna be able to mimic the success. But you need to build a brand. So our brand is all about cars. We primarily work on Evo 10s, older BMWs like the E36 platform, 911 turbos, McLarens, whether that be the 570, 650, the LT models, 720s, whatever. That's what we're working on, that and twin turbo V10. So we built a brand around the car market, around the automotive performance industry. So when people go to search, they buy automotive performance products. That's kind of what we do when it comes to the product side of our client store. So we build out brands and niches. Okay, that is the way that it really is supposed to work, at least in this day and age. All right, now let's talk about some of the traffic sources and things like that, and how the products even get there. Like, there's so many things to talk about when it comes to Shopify automation, because you guys don't necessarily know what is the truth and what isn't. So now we're gonna break down the traffic sources and why that is important, so you can understand like your actual margins and how much money you're gonna make and so on. Let's go. All right, guys, so let's talk about traffic sources when it comes to Shopify. Well, Shopify automation specifically, because everyone knows that with Shopify, you generally would run, Facebook or Instagram ads to your products, and that's how you would get sales. So when it comes to Shopify automation, there's a lot of different ways to do it. The majority of people will run Facebook and Instagram ads, which work, but it cuts into your margins by a significant amount depending on your sales. So we try to avoid that. So for us, we use all organic traffic, the same way that we would with our personal Shopify store. So we typically don't run Facebook ads or Instagram ads for our personal Shopify store, the Speed Circuit store, just because it's not necessary when you build out a brand. So we try to follow that same structure, although we do pump it up a little bit with the influencers. So there's a bunch of creatives that we have. We reach out to micro influencers, whether that be on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever, and we leverage them to do the heavy lifting for us, so that way your margins stay high. All right, so you could potentially sell more with Facebook ads, but your margins are gonna be lower, probably around 15% or so. It's usually what we found is 15 to 17.5%, all right? And that's just because you gotta factor in that cost, and you're gonna be spending hundreds of dollars a day on Facebook ads, and sometimes thousands of dollars a day, All right, so it will cut into your profit margins. So let's say that your margins, like with us, are roughly 30 to 40%, depending on shipping and where it's going or whatnot. So if our margins are 30 to 40% without Facebook ads, if we start running Facebook ads, Facebook and Instagram ads for our clients, next thing you know, their margins are gonna get cut in half generally. So if you sell $100,000 a month, you're gonna make roughly $30,000, in net profit. Now, if you're running Facebook ads at a rate of, $500 per day, that's 15,000. All right, so now your margins get cut in half. So if you were to focus more on paid traffic versus, the creator route, yes, you could probably scale that a little bit faster to get up to 100K, but you're also going to be spending that money. So instead of making $30,000 in net profit, you're going to make $15,000 in net profit. So they both have their pros and cons. Speed when you're running Facebook and Instagram ads versus reliability when you're using, micro influencers and doing your own creatives on the back end. So it just depends on the service and what they recommend. Now, we can do a little bit of both, but it's not something that we tell clients that they should do. Just be patient. All right, be patient, you're gonna be just fine. So that's what you need to talk about with whatever automation provider that you're gonna go with, especially if it comes to Facebook ads, because you're gonna need to have that money available. All right, so you're gonna have to pay for those Facebook ads. So if you don't have a very big budget, if you don't have a ton of capital outside of their investment fee, you're not gonna have enough money to get inventory and run Facebook ads. Even though you get paid pretty much every day with Shopify, usually it's every 3 days depending on your payment processor. But if you're using tools like what is it? Like PayPal and man, there's a few other ones that you could use to get paid every day, but the fees are a little bit higher. No, man, it's not payability. That's payability is really like for Amazon. Yeah, we don't really mess with that stuff. Yeah. So yeah, you guys know if you're gonna get paid out every day, you can use payability. That's something that we use for Amazon or whatever. But I digress. But yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, at any rate, there are payment processors that you can use to get paid out every day. So the thing is, again, if you're gonna be running paid ads, that's gonna be coming off your capital pool, and then you might not have enough for inventory. Even though you're getting paid every few days, you might have an influx of sales due to those ads, and then you have to cover that, and you won't have enough, and it just becomes a big headache. So there's that. Now let's talk about brand building and why that's gonna be essential depending on who you go with. All right, let's go. All right, guys, so let's talk about why brand building is so important when it comes to Shopify automation. It doesn't really matter which provider you go with. You want to ask them about their strategies for brand building and what that means for the long term, okay? So Shopify is a really good way, is a really good platform to build out on if you're trying to make a lot of money in a relatively short amount of time, as well as sell that brand that you're building. So if you look on the Shopify marketplace, for certain stores, you'll see that these things are routinely selling for $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, if not more than that. So we actually just sold a client store not too long ago for around $350,000. It was actually a little bit less than that, but after fees and everything else, is around $350,000. Now, this particular store was doing roughly $40,000 a month in net profit. The owner wanted to pull the plug. He just wanted to get a big, windfall, and there you go. I suggested, you keep this thing going, but, I'm just one person. So, people have their own needs, and, he wanted a 6-figure windfall, so why not? Now, when it comes to building a brand, like if you need to be able to have this brand established for a myriad of reasons, 2 main reasons being, you want to convince the customer when they're going to that particular store to purchase and then become a repeat customer. If it's a very disjointed store, kind of like a general store with tons of different products, cat products, gummy bears, freaking kid, clothes and stuff like that, it's gonna be very difficult to get people to come back and search, and there's not gonna be any type of categorization, all right? And that's gonna be one of the biggest things when it comes to developing your brand. People need to be able to go to your store and understand what that's all about. So in the case of one of our bigger stores, this particular store is in the female clothing niche, right? And guaranteed the majority of females, if you guys watch this video, you probably bought something from there. And it's a bunch of dudes running this, by the way. So you can't say that guys don't know what women want, because, we're selling over $1 million a year and it's working out very well. So, case in point, this store is centered around like women's sportswear, activewear. And the entire store is based on that. Okay, there's nothing out of the ordinary. So when people go there, they know what they're getting, and then they can stack. right? So they can grab one thing, oh, I want to buy, leggings, for instance. Cool. And the next thing they want to buy is like, maybe a sports top. And then maybe they want to buy, some, like a yoga mat or something that goes along within that niche as like an add-on, all right? So it just helps people stack and then keep them coming back because they know what they're going to purchase from there. Also, the second thing is having a strong brand makes it easier to sell in the long run. So that way when, let's say you get tired of it, because Shopify stores typically have a shelf life of 3 to 5 years if it's a decent store, before, products get stale or you have to come up with something new or, some crazy creatives or whatever. Maybe you get tired and you're like, man, I just want to pull the plug. I want to make $250,000, $300,000 up front, get a big lump sum and then go do something else. You want to have a strong enough brand so that way when it happens, you're able to do that. All right. So if you don't have a brand or the automation company that you're working with doesn't build out a brand for you, you're going to be eating shit on the back end when you're trying to sell that store. You might make a ton of money in the beginning, if they're running a bunch of ads and stuff like that, but overall you're going to end up losing because you don't have a brand that's strong enough to survive when it comes to selling it on a marketplace. So keep that in mind. So when you're asking your provider what's going on, how are you guys doing this, make sure you're finding out about custom packaging like we do for our clients, right? So we spend a lot of, that upfront fee that we charge building out, their brand, that means their logos, the packaging that we use for the products, the creatives, things like that. It's very expensive. So if these guys are talking about they're going to build you a Shopify store for, $10,000 or $15,000, that's going to be impossible for you to get all the creatives that you need for them to build an actual brand with your own packaging and stuff like that. So right off the rip they're lying. Okay, right off the rip. Here we go. All right, cool, moped life. So that they're lying and that they don't have any experience building any type of brand because, right, $10,000, there's no way you're gonna be able to build a profitable Shopify store for a client. Maybe yourself, but for a client, there's just no way. There's too many moving parts and there's too many creatives and there's too many things that have to go right in order for 10 grand to even work, all right? So case in point, look at our website, look at Speed Circuit, okay? We have the ability to make a lot of our own products, which we do, all right? So that's how we're able to keep our costs low and increase our margins, due to our brand strategy. If these guys are trying to sell you a Shopify store or Shopify package for 10, 15K, the fuck you gonna do with that? That store ain't gonna make no money, bro. I'm just gonna be honest with you. All right, just know. So make sure when you're talking to whatever provider, they can provide you with some type of strategy and give you some type of comfort and expertise, some knowledge base on how that all works together. All right, so let's go ahead. We're gonna, kind of close it out a little bit. Also, by the way, man, make sure you guys comment and click the link below if you want to talk about it or, you want to see more about what I'm doing, you want to follow me on social media, whatever the hell, just click that little link. All right, so we're gonna close out and we're gonna kind of break down what you guys should be thinking about when it comes to, Shopify automation and what that particular investment could mean for you relative to like real estate and stuff like that. All right, so let's go. So let's talk about what you can expect as far as like actually making money. Okay, so you guys understand the margins. If you're running Facebook ads, they're gonna be a little bit lower. You're probably gonna be 15 to 17.5%, maybe 20% if you're lucky, but typically that's just not gonna be the case. So just keep that in mind. Now, you guys, if you follow me on social media, shameless plug below, click that link. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, all that good jazz. I even have a Twitter now. I don't really use it, but whatever. So you can see some of the stores that we're managing on a regular basis. Now, some of the bigger stores, they're doing $100,000, $200,000 a month. So they're obviously making more money. Some of the smaller stores, they're doing, $10,000 to $15,000 a month because, they're getting spun up. Now, your store is more than likely going to do somewhere in between. Like if you're with a good service, you can count on doing roughly, I'd say $40,000 to $60,000 a month. Okay. So if your margins are decent, even if you're at, let's just say 50, that's not bad. It's $10,000 a month in net profit. That's not bad. I think you're doing pretty good with that if you're at 50,000 and your margins are 20%. So that's the power of Shopify versus like Amazon and all that. And you don't need a lot of capital because you're getting paid out every single day. Whereas with Amazon, especially if you're doing wholesale FBA, you would need a lot more capital to be able to do $10,000 a month in net profit. With Shopify, really don't. So that's why the barrier to entry is more expensive because it's more work to get everything right, okay? Because you have to build all the moving parts, or you have to take all the moving parts and build the machine, whereas Amazon already has the machine, and you just have to kind of jump on board with that. So count on your stores doing somewhere around, those numbers, depending on, which service you go with. On average, I'd say as long as you have a decent service, you're gonna be okay doing those numbers. 20% is generally the average going rate between the services. Some are higher, some are lower, depending on what they do. Like, we don't really focus on Facebook ads as much. So, that's why the margins are a little bit higher with us, whereas someone else, they might, kind of scale you faster with Facebook ads, and then maybe you'll plateau just because those ads are fizzling out. And, there's ad fatigue. You can't make the same amount of money forever with the same ads because there's ad fatigue. People see them all the time, and then you have to get with new creatives and all that stuff. So, there's that. But I'd say, around 50,000, in sales. And if you got a decent 20% margin, you're going to make $10,000 a month. I mean, that's not bad. You can make six figures doing absolutely nothing. All right, let's think about that. So if you spend $50,000 to build out a Shopify store or whatever, and you make, $10,000 a month, I think you're pretty good. That's a pretty good return, because if you put $50,000 into the stock market, you're gonna typically see around $5,000 made for the year. You're making $10,000 a month. That's pretty good. Even if you're only making $5,000 a month, that's still 60 grand versus 5 grand. So, when it comes to investing, man, you got to look at it that way. So in the case of, someone like me who, buys real estate, because my businesses aren't passive. All right. So I build passive income for people, but my business isn't passive. So therefore I have to work in order to make that happen, whereas my clients don't. So for me, I have to put my money into other things. So let's say I buy a house, especially out in PA. I've been buying a lot of places in Reading. So if I spend $50,000 in Reading, which I have done, typically my rents for that place, depending on if I renovate or whatever, it's going to be around $750 to $900 a month. So let's put that in perspective. That's what I'm getting. So let's just say, I buy it cash. I have no mortgage. I still have to pay property taxes, which are very, very low for the area. So maybe $1,000 or so, for the year. But, my rent, the rents that I can receive from that particular rental property might be $850, for the month. So it's still not near as good as what I'm going to do, or what you could do with a Shopify store, with an automated Shopify store. Like, you can make more than that within a single month. All right. So just put that into perspective. When you're investing in things, you need to look at, the propensity for it to grow and scale, and what you're trying to do. Do you want safer investments? Do you want more risky investments? I tend to get that question a lot, when I'm on the phone calls with clients, or prospective clients. There's some people are very risk adverse, and they just want your 10% a year or whatnot. And then there's other people that are like, yo, I want to risk it for the biscuit because I want to make more money. And those are the people that are generally rewarded, which is why I recommend you should kind of look at both ends. Right. So if you're looking at videos like this, you're obviously, more risk prone, and that these types of investments can make you a lot more money than traditional means. So just keep that in mind, guys. I'm not saying whether it's good or bad or what you should or shouldn't do, but, just keep an open mind. So with that being said, man, be safe, be smart. Make sure you guys go ahead, click the link below. Again, shameless plug. Leave a comment. I'll go ahead and answer whatever questions you have. You can hit me up on social media, whatever. So catch you guys in the next one. Peace.